If you're new here, Puyo Puyo is a match 4 puzzle game. If Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine or Kirby's Avalanche are firing up those neurons, there's a good reason for it. They were the Western localizations of Puyo Puyo. Up until 2002 with Puyo Pop on the Game Boy Advance, the Puyo Puyo brand in the West shied away from embracing itself and chose to hide under more identifiable names to succeed. It appears that the series' Western reception seemed to not sit well with Sega because they stopped localizing Puyo games after Puyo Pop Fever, which came out 2 years later. And let me tell you, there were a lot of Puyo games since then. It just seemed like this was just one of those franchises meant to stay in Japan. Until 2017 with the surprise localization of Puyo Puyo Tetris. It was a pretty big deal, especially considering that the Western community was becoming more vocal and we were rallying Sega to localize the impending release of Puyo Puyo Chronicle on the 3DS. It caught us off guard, but holy cannoli! After 13 years, we're getting a localized Puyo Puyo game. In retrospect, it was a no-brainer. In the West, Puyo Puyo is a very niche franchise, and considering everyone has probably played Tetris at one point in their life, it would be a golden opportunity to have something newbies can rely on as they enter this unknown Puyo Puyo territory. So, unsurprisingly, the game sold really well, and it was super fun! And with that, the community started to grow too. With a lot of players playing, the competitive scene soon followed, with tournaments being run at conventions and even EVO. I mean, these are competitive games after all. But as time went on, the players started to realize something. Puyo Puyo and Tetris are fundamentally two different games and cannot truly work in a competitive space. Puyo is a game about building chains, observing your opponent, and striking at the opportune time. Tetris is a game about speed and finesse, and in the matchup between the two, speed isn't in Puyo's favor. Sure, if the Puyo player can make a 5-chain, they win, but once the Tetris player has a sub 50-second sprint time, the Puyo player can't even build a chain. And it's not like you could just play against a specific playstyle, the matchmaking didn't have an option to filter for this. Additionally, the Tetris IP just created more brand confusion for Puyo. Forget the identity crisis caused by Mean Bean Machine and Kirby's Avalanche. All of a sudden, Puyo Puyo is no longer this separate IP, it's complementary to the name Tetris, as if it means new in some wacky Japanese sensibility. I mean, the top 20 leaderboards on PPT are predominantly Tetris players. And remember how I brought up EVO? There, Amamiya destroyed everyone single-handedly in a 1v3 with just Tetris, and that's scary. Really, it's embarrassing when your own IP is not the predominantly played mode, and I feel like Sega recognized this. In 2018, Sega released Puyo Puyo Esports, which was actually localized in the West as Puyo Puyo Champions in 2019. In my eyes, this was their attempt at recapturing their identity because this game is just Puyo Puyo and only Puyo Puyo. There's no story, just emphasis on tournament play at a very appealing price point. But Sega didn't stop there, because here comes Sega Ages Puyo Puyo and Puyo Puyo 2. Puyo Puyo 2 comes to Nintendo Switch Online instead of Avalanche. Mean Bean is included as a side mode in Sonic Mania. Even Yakuza 6 in Judge Eyes has Puyo Puyo. Suddenly, Puyo Puyo is everywhere. It seems like Sega was trying to capitalize on their bait. Forget this Tetris thing. This is the IP we actually own. This is the competitive scene we want to grow. Sega was trying to put Puyo Puyo up there with the big boys. Sega was trying to build Puyo Puyo to be its own brand in the West again. And then Puyo Puyo Tetris 2 happens. Thanks for sticking with me to this point. I didn't want to start this video with a monologue out of fear of losing the audience, but I feel like the odds are against Puyo Puyo Tetris 2. I think the casual gamer is going to look at this game and say, "This looks exactly like the first game and costs $10 more, why should I buy it?" And to be honest, I don't think they're that wrong. There are definitely new things in this game, but if you're just here for the verdict, then let me not waste any more of your time. This is just Puyo Puyo Tetris 1.5. That's not a bad thing. I do like this game, and if you loved the original, I think you'll be happy with this version as well. But if you're still on the fence, then let's dive a little deeper. Puyo Puyo Tetris 2 sees the return of everything from the original, from all of the solo and versus modes, to all of the characters in all voices, to the customization options in in-game shop, to even some background and music assets. The game features an all-new story mode, which now has an overworld map aesthetic, which is very nice to look at. I did find it confusing once all the branching paths opened up, but thankfully there's a feature to navigate to each mission just like in the first game. Plot-wise, everyone suffers from amnesia, so a good chunk of the story is just reintroductions, which is a little stale at this point. There is some continuity for returning fans, and it's always a pleasure to see everyone reprise their roles from the first game, but I'm still hungry for more. Like the original, I found myself bursting out laughing a few times.
So you didn't know you could help? Of course I know how. It's simple. You just have to do that one thing. Right. You know the thing.
But ultimately, I found the impact and writing of the original game to be stronger. I'm not going to jump into spoilers, but I do wonder if the story is throwing shade at the balance drama. There's also added replayability with the 4-star criteria. Once you clear all the missions in an area with 3 stars, you're able to play through them again with an even harder requirement, granting you an additional star. As a Puyo Puyo veteran, I only struggled with one of these, but overall I think it's a nice addition for completionists. For newcomers, there's also an auto difficulty option, so the game will dynamically adjust its difficulty to suit your skill level. The new mode in this game, Skill Battle, was actually lifted from Puyo Puyo Chronicle. This mode adds RPG elements such as HP, attack, defense, and a magic bar to your fully customizable party. You can equip item cards to buff these stats and make use of character-specific skills which deplete your magic bar. So even if you top out your board, you're not actually dead, as you can just take a hit to your HP meter. Unfortunately, some of the characters cater to one playstyle over the other, like T for example. He has the ability to clear 2 rows on the board with Sharpshooter, lower the opponent's attack with Crestfall, or generate a T-spin double with his Terraformer skill. If you're playing Puyo Puyo, you can only take advantage of one of these skills. So while you can add these characters to your party, they don't add much, so I'm not sure why you would. Given the amount of variables, I doubt a competitive scene will emerge for this playstyle. There is definitely some nonsense you can conjure up in this mode, and I think that's where its strength will lie. It is worth mentioning that Puyo Puyo Chronicle featured cooperative raid battles, and given the tease on the official Twitter for upcoming DLC, that could be a really nice feature. And that's it for new modes, yeah! But there's lots of smaller things to note as well, like the in-game tutorial received a pretty sizable buff, so new players will definitely want to check that out. There's even a section that covers making a 4-wide, so that's something. Visually, the game received fully redrawn artwork and animations along with new ones for all characters that lacked them, like Zed, who previously only had 3 spell animations. The final 2 spells are really cool because they take up half of the background to show off some beautiful visual effects. Unfortunately, for whatever reason, a lot of voice lines are reused from the original Puyo Puyo Tetris, despite new ones being recorded for things like the repeaters in Fever.
Whoa! Step it up, groovy! Hey, hey, hey! Bubble time! Step it up, groovy! It's heating up! Hey, hey, hey! You do the wave! Groovy! It's heating up! Hey, hey, hey! Hey, hey, hey! Get dancing on up!
Our PR rep from Sega stated this was intentional, so that's a shame, but the Japanese dub, which is also included, can be toggled on at any time from the options menu, and is completely new, so at least there's that. The new music is good. I'm a big fan of track 16. And nope, from what I can tell, the game balance was not improved at all for the Puyo vs. Tetris matchup, and given series producer Hoso Yamada's opinion on the matter, I wouldn't hold your breath. But online is separated into different lobbies, so while that doesn't address the balance issue, it does allow the competitive scene to play as they wish. Also, there's no spectating. This feature was added to Champions in a patch, so hopefully that gets added here as well. It's kinda needed for online tournament play. And really, that's about it. I feel like I'm being down on this game, but this is a sequel, and while it does make a better package than the original release, it leaves a lot to be desired. Personally, I would have liked to see an implementation of a fever-esque mode, like both players start in Puyo Puyo, but once their tension gauge builds, they swap to Tetris to dish out some lucky attack chains. Kinda like Dai Henshin from Puyo Puyo 7. Or maybe they could bring back Pair Puyo from 20th anniversary. With the promise of free DLC, I hope something like that will happen. Only then would I say that this game has truly earned the 2 in its title. But until we know what the DLC is, use your best judgment. For newcomers to the series, I think you can skip PPT-1 and just start here. The accessibility features and improvements made from the original justify not having to look back, and since the story reintroduces everyone, it's pretty much the most newbie-friendly entry yet. I started this video talking about the struggles Puyo Puyo has faced since its Western debut, and with this game, I think that struggle is only going to continue. Puyo Puyo is now even more synonymous with Tetris, and it'll be interesting to see how that affects the brand going forward. Yes, it's absolutely valid to just say these games are meant to be fun, and they still are, but given Puyo Puyo's competitive roots, I would still love to see a scene emerge in the West. Puyo Puyo Tetris 2 doesn't do much to aid in that, but it does at least give people the choice to play against what playstyle they want. Also, doing this review without an actual online player base makes that need all the stronger. So with that said, I can't wait to start playing with you guys online, so let's go have some fun. Thank you for watching. I feel like it would have been redundant to cover all the returning modes from the first game, so if you want more information on that, then feel free to check out my review of the first Puyo Puyo Tetris. I give this game a... Mom, can I get Puyo Puyo Tetris 2? No, we already have Puyo Puyo Tetris 2 at home, and Puyo Puyo Tetris at home is Puyo Puyo Tetris 1. Okay, bye.